Sunday night, Buffalo, Baltimore. Will Lamar Jackson outplay Josh Allen?
I'm going to say no. One, Josh has got as good an offensive coordinator in football right now, and Joe Brady, the way that they have protected him, the way that they're using pre-snap motion, the different people that he has to throw the football to, it's remarkable to watch the wagon in Buffalo. And Buffalo's defense always gives Baltimore and Lamar trouble just because the disciplined style that they play with in their gap scheme. Both will play well. I think Josh has the better night.
Right now, Allen, the overwhelming favorite for MVP. J-Mac, will Jalen Hurts' turnovers doom the Eagles against Tampa?
Yes, it will. The combination of his turnovers, also with some of the decisions that Nick Sirianni are making, it is going to bring them down. 2 of the interceptions he has so far this year have been in the end zone while they're going in to score and they're taking the ball away. He cannot continue to do that if this Eagle team is going to be able to get to where they want.
They have so many injuries on that offense as well. And then Kmart, does Dak need to dominate tonight in a must-win for the Cowboys against the Giants?
Greeny, he has to. Because clearly he can't rely on his defense. Listen, this is a Giants team that they outscored by 72 points last season. They historically do well against the Giants. If they lose this game, I said it earlier, panic at the disco. This is going to be a big problem in Dallas.
Well, listen, I can actually put some numbers to that, or at least I can put a schedule to that. Look what they have coming up after this game against the Giants. The Steelers are unbeaten. The Lions will run the ball for 1,000 yards in that game. The Niners will do the same. The Falcons, I think, are going to start continuing to play better. Yeah. You find me, you think 3 wins on that screen? 4 wins? If they don't win tonight, the Cowboys could find themselves buried, Dan, this early in the season. And you find stuff out about teams when they have this kind of moment in time. And the first thing we need to see them do tonight is get CeeDee Lamb more involved in the offense.
Yeah, and right now they waste CeeDee Lamb. Right now they put CeeDee Lamb out by himself and they say, we're not going to throw him the football. It's a lot like going into the San Francisco game of last season. Bottom of the screen, safety, J-Mac knows this from the top, rotates, really work the one-on-one. Now watch his body language because Dak does not throw the ball there. Watch his body language after this, like, man, I'm open, give me the ball. Now, left hash. Farthest away from the football is your $140 million receiver. They're just going to put him out there by himself, run a straight line. They don't throw him the football. But that should only happen maybe once in the beginning of the game. No, we're going to do it again. Ball on the left hash. We'll take and he's standing still. He's farthest away from the football, just running a straight line. No, we'll throw it somewhere else. The consistency that this happens, where they just put CeeDee Lamb out by himself and don't get him the football, is ridiculous. Last year, he was top 5 in the NFL when it came to targets. I'm just going down the ball. He's 41st this year. Half of his routes are straight lines. Think about the contrast of that between Justin Jefferson or a Rashee Rice or a Nico Collins. They're not even in the same galaxy.
But so you told us this earlier this morning, and I'm an hour later, and I still don't understand it.
You're asking why?
Yes, he was the most targeted player in the NFL last year. You just pointed out he's now 41st. He's overwhelmingly the most important part of their offense. They can't run the ball to save their lives.
Yeah.
He is their, you would think, and Randy Moss, who I work with on Sundays now, always tells me, when you're the star receiver, it doesn't matter what the coverage is, doesn't matter what the defense is. Give me the ball, I can make the plays.
Randy's a little different.
Well, I understand that, but CeeDee Lamb is right in the conversation with the best players in the whole league.
All right, so I'll ask him. If you watch that tape of the Cowboys and you're a secondary guy and you see him all the way out there and the hash matters because he's furthest away from the ball and he's just standing there, what does that do to you as your mindset of how you think about it?
To your point, the ball's all the way over there. He's +2, which means he's 2 yards outside the number. That is the furthest throw for the quarterback to make. I look at this, and when you talk about star receivers and getting him the ball, you talk about a guy like Calvin Johnson, who you played with. We knew we were going to double team him the entire game, but you also knew that they were going to move him around and put him in the slot. It is so much harder to get to receivers when they're all over the place. You mentioned Justin Jefferson against the Houston Texans. He's in the slot. He's on the left side.
Does this offense scare you schematically when you look at it? Are you sitting there going, man,
no, because to your point, wherever you line CeeDee Lamb up, there's nobody that scares you outside of that. So when you put him all the way outside the numbers, now we can put a player out there. And if we want, we can maybe put a safety, but we don't need to because he is so far from the play, and we don't have the fear of a Tober or a Brandon Cook.
And they're not changing the picture either. They're just putting him out there.
There's no motion.
There's no like, hey, if he goes out there, he can end up here, or they might bring. They're just leaving him out there.
So what our guys are literally saying is that the Cowboys are doing this to themselves.
Yeah.
Yes.
It is not about, it's not even about what defenses are doing to them. Before they even line up, before they even get set, they're already at a disadvantage. And when you look at the Giants, who we know it was going to be the Malik Neighbors show this season, even though he's a rookie. And then you counter that to what the Cowboys are doing, where they aren't featuring their top target. That is alarming.
Another thing I love to do, so that's candidly, it's stunning. The other thing I love doing on these Thursdays, particularly when we have really good games coming up on Thursday night, is give people something to watch for. So Dan, you have another tape. And in this, you're going to give people where exactly do you expect the Giants defense, what exact point on the field do you expect them to be attacking the Cowboys offense?
Dexter Lawrence over the Cowboys rookie center, Cooper Beebe.
The Cowboys rookie center, right? Sorry.
Rookie center, Cooper Beebe. So what they're going to do is they're going to take that big defensive tackle, they're going to run him through Cooper Beebe, and just imagine like a Brian Burns or a Kayvon Thibodeau wrapping around. This is a tall task for a rookie center, and what teams are starting to do is realize we can get after him a little bit. Dexter Lawrence is going to stand up, put right over his head. He's going to run through one of his shoulders, and then you're going to get these loop stunts by the Giants defensive line. I think this could be a vintage Giants defensive line performance. Dexter Lawrence is arguably the best defensive tackle in football, maybe him and Chris Jones in that conversation. This game, when the Cowboys are on offense, will come down to can they get CeeDee Lamb the ball early, and then how they handle Dexter Lawrence on the interior with a rookie at center.
And I love that, too. In the right tackle, Terrence Steele is giving up the most pressures of any lineman in the NFL right now. So you mentioned Kayvon Thibodeau and Brian Burns. They're going to be on the outside, too, trying to wreak havoc.
Holy smoke. So, I mean, again, I love giving you something to watch for, but, I mean, this sounds really bad. If I'm just sitting here listening to you guys talk, we can see how bad it is. But as you guys start having the week to dissect the film, it feels to me like it gets worse and worse.
Yeah, and part of this reason is I don't think there's an offense in football that sets their quarterback up to fail. This to be as hard as possible on you. Greeny, it reminds me a little bit, I don't know if you remember, when Brady went down to Tampa initially, the way that I categorized it was they're so reliant on high-end execution. It's the same with the Cowboys offense. And it's so easy for everyone to be like, this guy sucks. No, they're making it hard to execute consistently.
Especially at a time, and we did a whole roundtable on this yesterday, Kmart, where the storyline in the league is elite creative offensive coaching, right? You see how guys, and you talk about, you have been way in front of this conversation, but now even people like me can recognize how these offenses, they're scheming people open. Look what they're doing for quarterbacks who've never looked like this. Look what they're doing for Sam Darnold in Minnesota. Look what they did with Malik Willis this past week in Green Bay. Look at Justin Fields. The scheme, the offensive coaching has never been more apparently important than it is right now.
We deservedly so, Matt LaFleur. He deserves his flowers because what we're seeing him do in Green Bay. And when we look in Dallas, Dan said something earlier about the Cowboys are making it harder on Dak. We talked about this a lot this offseason where they brought Mike McCarthy back. Okay, was that the right move? Also, when you got two rookie offensive linemen now, you waited to pay them all that. The lack of free agency spending. Like all of these things have a trickle-down effect. And now we're in week 4 talking about how this matchup against a Giants team where we were wondering, hey, is this GM and this head coach, are they the right fit for this team? And now we're looking at Dallas like this, not to say that anybody can't lose any given day, but this should be a game where, yes, we can all check off the Cowboys are just a better team on paper and a better team on the field. This should be a win. And instead, we are looking at a Dallas team that doesn't seem to be making progress. And guys in the locker room, that to me is the biggest thing. Yeah. Where it's the same complaints. And you've got CeeDee, and credit to CeeDee for apologizing for his behavior on the sideline. But the frustration should not be there this early in the season.
And to your point, you looked at it in the beginning of the season, you're like, all right, this is one that the Cowboys could win. But give the Giants credit as well. They got in there and got beat down by Minnesota. And since then, Daniel Jones has played better. Their defense has stepped up. So you have to look at this team. And the reason we're not looking at it as an easy W is because the Giants have played some good football. Motor Singletary out of the backfield the last game. I give Brian Dable a ton of credit because when he got ready to play the Browns last week, knowing how aggressive they were, he did things for Daniel Jones, being able to throw screens and then get the ball to make it easier. To Dan's point of not just asking him to drop
If you don't have a overly creative offense, you don't have a chance in the NFL.
But why would Mike McCarthy, like, when he took over play calling, was like, I'm going to run the football. But now they're not running the football either. Make
Who
it
are you
easy
gonna
on
give it to?
the rookie offensive
Who are you
lineman.
gonna give
They
it
can't.
to?
I mean, look at Isaiah Pacheco. He was a 7th-round draft pick. He comes in. Running backs aren't.
But they didn't take one.
They didn't take
They
one.
signed.
No.
They signed
but they
Zeke
raved
Elliott
about
and
Rico
Dalvin
Dowell
Cook.
all offseason, all training camp, how good he looked. And when Dalvin Cook got there, that was the one thing he said. Rico Dowell, like, this guy has surprised me. How good. Give him opportunities. Hand the ball. Make it easy on a rookie offensive lineman.
Mike McCarthy is taking the pieces of their offense and saying, and putting the onus on them. Just go execute.
Win. Yeah.
You know when you can say that? When you got Aaron Rodgers, and you got James Jones, and you got Donald Driver, and you got Greg Jennings. You got all those cats?
Yeah.
You can go do it. The Cowboys don't.
Yeah, that's what Mike McCarthy had in Green Bay
Corey
once
Nelson.
upon a time. He had a lot more talent in Dallas not that long ago. Look, everyone is to blame for what has unquestionably been a regression of this team. And again, I think it reaches, I was about to say a zenith, whatever the opposite is. It reaches a low point.
Greeny,
if they, yeah.
CeeDee Lamb is 41st in the NFL in targets.
How many teams are
Makes
there?
no sense.